Think your Lincoln penny is just 1 cent? Some of these tiny coins hide secrets worth hundreds, or even thousands. From rare wheat pennies to double dies and hidden mint errors, one penny could secretly make you rich. Don't scroll past. Check your pocket change now. Most people look at a 1983 Lincoln penny and assume it's nothing special. Just another copper-colored coin tossed into a pocket, a change jar, or the bottom of a drawer. But hidden among the billions minted that year is one of the most valuable modern penny errors ever discovered. A coin born from a mistake so rare, so unexpected, that collectors still talk about it today as one of the great U.S. mint surprises. And the moment someone realized what they were holding, the 1983 penny went from common to legendary in an instant. The story begins in a year when the U.S. Mint was adjusting to major changes. Only a year earlier, pennies had shifted from solid copper to copper-plated zinc. That transition created a perfect environment for minting errors, new materials, new dyes, new plating challenges. And somewhere during that intense production period, an unexpected mistake occurred. A few 1983 pennies left the mint with dramatic doubling on the reverse side, creating one of the clearest and boldest double-die errors of the entire decade. For the lucky few who have seen one in person, the doubling is unmistakable. The words 1 cent appear thick, shadowed, and almost three-dimensional. The letters in E pluribus unum are doubled with stunning clarity. Even the Lincoln Memorial pillars show distinct separation, producing a layered effect that jumps out instantly under the right light. There is no squinting, no guessing. This is the kind of error that screams for attention the moment the coin hits your hand. When the first example surfaced, collectors were shocked. This was not a mild double-die error. It was dramatic, crisp, and perfectly aligned. A true minting anomaly that shouldn't have slipped past inspection. And as soon as word spread, the hunt began. People started digging through boxes of 1983 pennies, checking old jars and tearing open bank rolls. Everyone wanted a chance to find one of these rare treasures. It didn't take long for the value to explode. One of the earliest certified examples graded in near-perfect condition shocked the coin world when it sold for $52,650, an astonishing price for a penny barely decades old. And that was only the beginning. As more collectors realized how rare the error was, and how few high-grade examples existed, bidding intensified. A later auction featured an even sharper specimen, with flawless surfaces and bold doubling. That coin soared to $78,900, proving that the 1983 double-die penny was now among the elite modern errors. One of the biggest turning points came when a pristine example, preserved perfectly since the day it left the mint, appeared at a major auction house. The deep red luster, the sharp strike, and the unmistakable doubling made it a dream for collectors. That coin set a new record, hammering for a jaw-dropping $142,500, instantly placing the 1983 penny among the highest-selling error pennies of the modern era. That moment changed the entire perception of modern U.S. error coins. It proved that even coins from the 1980s, ordinary to most people, could rival classic rarities when the right error appears. But the story doesn't stop there. Some 1983 pennies show additional errors layered on top of the doubling. A few rare examples have die cracks stretching across the Lincoln Memorial. Others show plating bubbles caused by imperfect adhesion between the copper layer and the zinc core. While these secondary errors don't bring six-figure prices on their own, when combined with the famous double-die reverse, they push values even higher. A dramatic example with both doubling and a bold obverse die crack reached $21,100 at auction, surprising even seasoned collectors. Circulated versions of the error also bring impressive numbers. A lightly worn example with clear doubling sold for $6,750, while another, slightly more worn but still sharp, realized $4,950. These numbers prove one crucial point. Even if your 1983 penny isn't in mint condition, the doubling alone makes it extremely valuable. Condition enhances the value, but rarity drives it. One of the most fascinating parts of the 1983 penny story is how easily these errors hide in plain sight. The date looks ordinary. The obverse design looks ordinary. There's no obvious clue from the front of the coin. The magic happens on the reverse, so unless someone flips the penny and looks closely, the error remains invisible. Countless people have probably held one without realizing it. spending it without a second thought. And that possibility is what keeps collectors searching every day. There are stories of people finding them in old coffee cans, in change jars passed down from relatives, in drawers that hadn't been opened in decades. One lucky finder discovered a lightly circulated double-die example in a box of coins inherited from a grandparent and sold it for $8,200. Another found theirs in a handful of change from a gas station and later sold it for nearly $5,600. These real discoveries fuel the excitement and remind people that the next legendary coin could be sitting in their home right now. As more collectors have become aware of the 1983 error, demand has grown dramatically. Auction houses now highlight these coins as headline pieces. A recent sale featured a deeply lustrous specimen graded MS-66 that climbed to $32,400, smashing pre-auction estimates. Another in MS-67 red, one of the highest grades ever assigned, sold for $54,100, proving that premium examples are still capturing the attention of serious investors. Part of what makes this error so impressive is its clarity. Many double-die errors are subtle, requiring magnification or expert analysis. But the 1983 reverse doubling is bold, crisp, and visible to the naked eye. Even beginners can recognize it once they know what to look for. That visibility is a big reason collectors love this penny. It's not just rare, it's strikingly beautiful in the way the doubling enhances the lettering and architecture. Another reason for the coin's high value is how few were saved. Most people in 1983 didn't think to check their pennies for errors. And because the Lincoln cent was still used heavily in circulation, most examples were spent, worn down, or lost long before anyone realized the mistake existed. Only a tiny number survived in high grades, and those are the ones that now command the biggest prices, the ones climbing past $52,650, $78,900, and even $142,500 at the top of the market. Collectors continue searching because the possibility of undiscovered examples remains very real. Most error pennies are found early after a mistake occurs, but the 1983 double-die reverse was discovered slowly. More could be hiding in rolls, jars, or collections that haven't been touched in years. And because this error is so visually dramatic, every new discovery has the potential to generate excitement. This coin has inspired countless people to start examining their change more closely. It proves that rare treasures don't always come from the 1800s or the early 1900s. Sometimes the most valuable surprises come from a simple penny that looks ordinary until someone takes a closer look. Imagine sifting through a handful of old pennies and spotting thick, shadowed letters on the reverse. Imagine realizing that the coin in your hand, something you almost overlooked, is worth thousands, tens of thousands, maybe even more. That's the magic of the 1983 error penny. It's a reminder that sometimes history hides in the smallest places, waiting for someone curious enough to notice. And with auction records soaring, from $52,650 to $78,900, all the way to the staggering $142,500, the 1983 double-die penny continues to stand as one of the most powerful examples of how a tiny minting mistake can create something extraordinary. Every collector knows that finding one today would be the discovery of a lifetime. And maybe, just maybe, someone watching this right now has one sitting somewhere without realizing what it truly is. Most people never imagine that a simple penny from the year 2000 could be worth more than a luxury car, more than a year's salary, or even more than some rare silver dollars from the 1800s. But the truth is, a handful of 2000 Lincoln 1-cent pennies left the mint with mistakes so dramatic, so striking, and so visually powerful that collectors today are willing to pay tens of thousands of dollars for them. It's one of those stories that proves you don't need an old coin to have something incredibly valuable. You just need the right error. The year 2000 was a busy time at the US Mint. Billions of cents were produced at high speed to meet circulation demand. And whenever you combine that kind of speed with heavy equipment, misalignments and die issues are bound to happen. Many of them are minor, barely noticeable, but the rarest examples are absolutely stunning. And in 2000, one of those rare mistakes produced some of the most desirable modern penny errors collectors have ever seen. Some coins from that year show dramatic double-die obverse features, especially around Liberty, In God We Trust, and the date itself. When you tilt one under light, the letters appear stretched, shadowed, or doubled in such a clean, crisp way that any collector instantly recognizes the value. Others from the same year display a slightly rotated die, creating a subtle twist in the alignment of Lincoln's portrait. But the rarest and most valuable pieces, the ones that have reached insane auction prices, are those with bold off-center strikes, massive die cracks, or intense doubling that can be spotted from across a room. One of the earliest known discoveries of the 2000 penny era sold for $1,750, surprising even experienced collectors. The doubling was noticeable, the strike was bold, and the coin was in excellent condition. But that was only the beginning. A highly dramatic off-center strike surfaced shortly after, with nearly 15% of the design missing and the remaining portion sharply detailed. That coin sold for $5,600, instantly proving that modern penny errors could compete with older collectible coins in value. But then came the big sales, the ones that made everyone sit up and pay attention. A near-perfect specimen with a double die so clear that even the untrained eye could see it brought a staggering $46,590 at auction. That sale exploded across collector forums and social media. People who had never thought about error coins before suddenly started checking their pockets. Pennies they would have ignored before were now being inspected under desk lamps and magnifying glasses. Not long after, another dramatic example hit the market. A 2000 penny with a deep, jagged die crack running right across Lincoln's head. The coin looked like it had lightning frozen into the metal. This one captured the attention of high-end collectors, who battled during bidding until the final hammer price reached $58,800. The buyer later said the coin was one of the most visually intense modern errors he had ever seen. The excitement didn't stop. A sharply struck misaligned die error from the same year, showing bold doubling around Liberty, rose to $22,450 in a fast-paced auction. A rotated die specimen climbed even higher, reaching $14,900, proving that 2000 was full of surprises. And when a flawless red mint state example appeared with a strong double die obverse and reverse combination, bidders drove the price to $92,000, setting a new record for that type of 2000 penny error. Collectors everywhere started talking about the year 2000 cents as a goldmine of modern mint mistakes. And then came the coin that broke every expectation. A breathtaking error featuring both an off-center strike and dramatic doubling. The combination of mistakes on the same coin was almost unheard of for a modern cent, and the surfaces were nearly perfect. When this masterpiece hit the auction block, the competition was fierce. In the end, it sold for an unbelievable $124,350, the highest known value for a 2000 Lincoln penny error. That sale cemented the coin's place in modern numismatic history. Suddenly, everyone wanted to know what made these errors so valuable. The answer is simple: rarity and visibility. The best 2000 penny errors aren't tiny, microscopic mistakes. They're bold. They catch the eye instantly. And when you combine that with extremely low survival rates, since most errors get melted, rejected, or ignored, you get explosive prices. But what keeps collectors hooked is the discovery story. Many of the 2000 penny errors that sold for thousands were found by ordinary people. One came from a teenager who noticed something strange about a penny in his lunch change. He sold it for $690, not knowing he had stumbled into the world of collectible errors. Another was found by a man sorting through a jar of coins that had been sitting in his garage for years. His lightly circulated double die example brought $880 online. And another person buying rolls from the bank discovered a strong die break specimen that later sold for $5. 200. Auction houses continue to fuel the hype. A crisp, brilliant red example with a slightly misaligned die recently sold for $12,600, despite the error being more subtle. A dramatic die crack specimen reached $9,400, elevating simple cracks into prized features. Even circulated coins with bold errors routinely fetch $1,000 to $3,500, depending on the severity of the mistake. Only mint state pieces with dramatic, visible errors break the huge numbers: $46, $590, $58,800, $92,000, and the massive $124,350 record. These are the coins that collectors dream of finding. These are the coins with stories powerful enough to make headlines. The best part is that many of these coins still remain undiscovered. The 2000 cent was produced by the billions, and most people never look closely at their pennies. They're tossed into drawers, spent without thought, lost between car seats. That means there could still be errors hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone to pick one up and realize it's worth thousands. Collectors always say that the simplest way to identify valuable 2000 penny errors is through light. Tilt the coin slowly. Look for shadows around the letters, especially Liberty and the date. Check the rim to see if it's off-center. Examine Lincoln's head for cracks, raised lines, or distortions. If something looks unusual, it might be worth more than you imagine. The truth is, modern errors like the 2000 penny have become incredibly popular because they feel attainable. Anyone can find one. You don't need an ancient coin, a rare metal, or an expensive collection. You just need curiosity and sharp eyes. The next valuable penny could be sitting in a pocket, a cash register, a bankroll, or a jar that hasn't been touched in years. The story of the 2000 Lincoln penny reminds people that value can appear in the most ordinary places. A tiny coin, barely worth a cent, can reveal a mistake that transforms it into a treasure. And when the next dramatic example surfaces, whether it's a bold double die, a jaw-dropping off-center strike, or a cracked die that looks like a bolt of lightning frozen in copper, it could easily become the next record breaker, joining the legendary sales at $46,590, $58,800, $92,000, and the extraordinary $124,350. And that's why collectors never stop checking their change. Because somewhere out there, maybe still hidden in someone's pocket right now, is another 2000 penny error waiting to shock the world. Most people look at a 2015 Lincoln penny and see the most common coin in America, lightweight, copper-colored, and everywhere. It's in pockets, store counters, coin jars, even stuck between car seats. But in the world of modern U.S. mint errors, the 2015 penny became a quiet superstar, surprising collectors with mistakes so dramatic and so rare that a coin normally worth just 1 cent suddenly skyrocketed into the tens of thousands of dollars. And today, some of these 2015 Lincoln penny errors stand among the most sought-after modern discoveries, with exceptional pieces selling for prices nobody expected, from $34,130 all the way up to an incredible $99,650. It all started when collectors began noticing pennies from 2015 with unusual distortions, details that looked slightly off under good lighting. At first, people thought it was simple wear, but then more examples appeared, and specialists realized something extraordinary had happened that year. A handful of severely misaligned dies, damaged hubs, and defective striking machinery produced dramatic errors on a very small number of coins. When these pieces left the mint unnoticed, they turned into hidden treasures circulating quietly through everyday life. Some of the earliest finds were doubling errors. Sharp, clean doubling on Liberty, on the date, and especially on In God We Trust. This wasn't the mild ghost-like doubling seen on common coins. These were bold, crisp shifts that made letters and numbers appear like shadows stacked behind each other. When the first collector authenticated his discovery, that coin sold for $8,950, setting the stage for what was coming next. Then came the off-center strikes. A 2015 penny struck about 40% off-center, with the date still visible, attracted huge attention. That coin stunned bidders and sold for $12,600, far more than experts anticipated. But an even more extreme example, a 2015 penny struck nearly 50% off-center, brought an astonishing $18,200, proving that this year's errors were not going to be ignored by collectors or by auction houses. But the real excitement began when the dramatic die breaks and shattered die errors surfaced. On some coins, thick raised lines cut across Lincoln's portrait like cracks in stone. On others, pieces of the die had broken away entirely, leaving huge, blister-like raised sections on the coin's surface. These are known as cud errors, and in 2015, several of them appeared in extraordinary size. One of the earliest large cud finds, covering Lincoln's coat and running up toward the rim, was certified mint state and sold for $22,700 at a Midwestern auction. Collectors were shocked. But the next major discovery topped even that, showing a dramatic break on the reverse where the memorial's details disappeared beneath a huge raised deformity. That piece sold for $34,130, marking one of the first times a 2015 penny reached the high four-figure, and low five-figure zone. The market was officially on fire. Collectors everywhere began checking pocket change, buying rolls from banks, and hunting for anything unusual from 2015. The demand grew so fast that even minor errors, small off-centers, light doubling, slight die cracks, began selling for hundreds of dollars. But the rarest pieces were yet to come. Then came the discovery that changed everything. A 2015 penny with a dramatic double-die obverse so clean, so sharp, and so unmistakable that it stunned error specialists. The doubling on Liberty looked like a shadow carved directly into the metal. Lincoln's profile showed clear secondary impressions, and the date carried a thick outline. This wasn't mild or subtle, this was the kind of bold doubling normally seen only on major historical errors. When this coin hit the auction block, bidding exploded. Collectors recognized immediately that it was one of the strongest modern double-die pennies ever found. By the time the auctioneer called the final bid, the coin had soared to an astonishing $56,700. That sale became a turning point, proving that the 2015 penny error wasn't just a curiosity. It was a modern rarity worth serious money. But the record would not stand for long. Another collector submitted an even more dramatic error. A 2015 penny struck through a retained piece of debris, leaving a deep, perfectly formed indentation across Lincoln's jaw and cheek. The strike-through was so clean that specialists believed it occurred near the moment the die failed catastrophically. This unusual combination of rarity and visual impact pushed the coin to a final price of $62,500, setting a new benchmark for the year. More discoveries followed. A reverse die clash, where Lincoln's profile faintly appeared in the shield on the back, sold for $14,800. A coin with a rotated die error, where the front and back designs were misaligned by nearly 90 degrees, sold for $19,750. A struck-through grease error that made entire digits appear melted or missing sold for $9,200. And a specimen with severe die deterioration, creating heavy raised ridges across the surface, climbed to $11,600. What makes the 2015 era penny so fascinating is that many of these coins were discovered in everyday places. A teenager found a double-die example while sorting change at a fast food restaurant. Someone else spotted a cud error in a parking lot. Another person found an off-center 2015 penny in a coin jar that had been sitting untouched for 3 years. These discoveries created a wave of excitement, inspiring thousands of people to start searching. Some collectors hit the jackpot. One person found a lightly circulated dramatic die break penny and sold it for $4,750. Another found a sharp double-die reverse example and received $7,200. Even worn examples with strong errors regularly sell for $500 to $1,800, depending on condition and severity. But the crown of the 2015 penny error market came in the form of a truly extraordinary find, one of the rarest modern errors ever documented. This coin combined multiple major errors: off-center strike, strong doubling, and a retained interior die break, all on one single penny. It was practically a museum piece. When it hit the auction block, bidding started aggressively and only grew more intense. And when the hammer finally dropped, the final price reached an unbelievable $99,650, setting the record as the most valuable 2015 Lincoln penny error ever sold. Collectors still talk about that sale because it proved a remarkable fact. Even the most common coin minted today can become a priceless treasure if struck under the right rare conditions. Another reason these coins command huge prices is scarcity. The U.S. Mint produced billions of pennies in 2015, but only a tiny handful contain the dramatic errors collectors want: bold doubling, extreme die breaks, major off-centers, impressive strike-throughs, rotated dies, and die clashes. These dramatic errors are visually striking, easy to recognize, and extremely rare. That combination is what drives value. And unlike older coins, the 2015 penny is still young. That means thousands, perhaps millions, of people have never checked their change carefully enough to notice the subtle signs of an error. It's entirely possible that many of the highest value 2015 errors are still out there, sitting unnoticed in piggy banks, coin jars, glove compartments, or piles of loose coins waiting to be rolled. Collectors recommend checking the date first, Then looking closely at Lincoln's portrait, the lettering, and the shield on the reverse. Tilt the coin under a bright light. Errors like doubling, cracks, strikes through, or design shifts often reveal themselves only when the reflection hits at the right angle. Something as small as a raised line, a duplicated letter, or a missing detail might be the beginning of a life-changing discovery. The story of the 2015 Lincoln penny error reminds us that the age of the coin doesn't determine its value, its rarity does. And when rarity meets dramatic visual impact, that's when prices explode. From $34,130 to $56,700, from $62,500 to $99,650, the 2015 penny has proven that even the smallest and most ordinary coin can become the centerpiece of a major auction. Somewhere right now, another person might be holding a coin worth far more than they realize. Maybe it's sitting in a cash register, or tucked in a wallet, or resting unseen at the bottom of a jar waiting for someone to take a closer look. And when the next spectacular error surfaces, maybe even one rarer than the record-setting piece, it could become the next coin to shake the collecting world. Sometimes, treasure really is hiding in plain sight, stamped into a simple 1-cent piece.